Well, good morning to you today here, ladies and gentlemen. This is Scott Manning, coming to you live from Scott Manning YouTube Sports Talk. Thank you so much for being with me here this morning. Here on this night, it is 9 a.m. Friday morning here on YouTube. Here at Eastern Time, I want to thank you for joining me. Today is a very special day for me at Scott Manning YouTube Sports Talk. Today, I am doing a college football / basketball special. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking both college football and college basketball today. It is conference championship weekend in college football, but we have some big games in college basketball this weekend. I'm going to start it out with conference championship weekend in college football. I got some of the games I want to talk about. I'm also going to talk about a formula for possibly UCF to jumping in to take it away. And I also want to talk about college basketball. We got 3 big games on the slate for the weekend I'm going to be watching with special interest. But I also want to talk about the Duke freshman sensations. And I'm going to address that here in a bit. But right now, it's go time. We got to get moving, and I'm ready to go. Well, here it is, folks. The Big Ten championship game is this weekend. Now, about 1 month ago, I would have said no way. Think about it. Ohio State faces Northwestern. About 1 month ago, Michigan beat Northwestern choked against Michigan 20-17. And Ohio State laid an egg against Purdue 49-20. Now, that was a month ago. Now we're talking serious time. Ohio State coach Urban Meyer said, we're going to take Northwestern very seriously. Their conference record has been fantastic. And he's right. And let's think about it. For Northwestern, Pat Fitzgerald said, this is going to be a game of who wants it the most. And I'm going to tell you right now, our guys are ready to go. And we're going to do what we can. We can spoil the party for Ohio State. And we can do it. I think we got the personnel to do it, and I think we can do it, and I think we really can. But let's think about this for Northwestern. Clayton Thorson, Isaiah Bowser, Flynn Nagel. Those are the 3 guys I have on my watch list for this game on Saturday night. And everybody has said anything is possible, and it usually is. And I'm going to tell you right now. And now Ohio State has Dwayne Haskins, J.K. Dobbins, and Paris Campbell. I've got those guys on my watch list too. Now Ohio State is an overwhelming favorite. At last check, there were a 17-point favorite going into the game on Saturday night. But I'm going to tell you right now, do not, and I repeat, do not let that 8-4 record fool you. Now hold on. Ohio State is a 14.5-point favorite. I just checked it. Just to reiterate, Ohio State is a 14.5-point favorite. But let me say this now. Do not let the 8-4 record fool you. Three of those losses were non-conference losses. They were 1-4. All of a sudden, Northwestern's gotten red hot, and they're 8-4. And if Ohio State brings the game like they had against Michigan, they got a shot. But if we see the team that showed up against Maryland or Purdue, we're screwed. There's just no 2 ways about it. Because Pat Fitzgerald is a great coach. Nobody gives him credit. Northwestern is in the top 25 because they have a great team. They struggled, but they've come back, and they've showed me something here in the last few weeks. Yes, they laid an egg against Michigan. I'll give you that. However, Ohio State, the only real good game we had was against the Maize and Blue. Because let's think about it. Minnesota, 30-14. We should have beaten them going away. Indiana, we had some struggles. Purdue, we laid an egg. Maryland, I don't even want to think about that because my heart will start skipping about 3 or 4 beats. I mean, my heart ached. I thought I was going to have a heart attack after that game. But anyway, I will say this now. If Ohio State brings the game that they had against Michigan, they got it. But if we see the team like the way we played against Maryland or Purdue, we're gonna get our clocks cleaned. And that's all there is to it because Northwestern is a tough football team. Don't let that 8-4 record fool you. And Dwayne Haskins has thrown for over 4,000 yards this season. Why is he not in consideration for the Heisman Trophy? And he broke Drew Brees' touchdown record. Why is he not in consideration for the Heisman Trophy? That's what I want to know. But I'll settle that another time. But I'm going to say this, though. Don't take Northwestern lightly. And this is a warning to all Buckeye Nation. Northwestern is a very tough football team. The 8-4 record, 3 of those losses were non-conference losses, like I said. The only conference loss was to Michigan when they choked in the second half. And they had Michigan on the ropes, facing elimination. And they let them off the hook. That's past history. Now we move to Saturday night. As for a final score, I'm going to go with Ohio State 38-20. I think Northwestern gives them a battle in the first half. But I think in the end, Ohio State takes it 38-20. That is my final score prediction. And you can go to the bank with that. All right. Let's move on. The Big 12 Championship game. That's at 12 noon tomorrow on ABC. Number 5, Oklahoma. Number 14, Texas. Go back to October 6th. Texas beat Oklahoma 48-45. Mike Stoops is out as defensive coordinator. Ruffin McNeil is in. Oklahoma coach Lincoln Riley said, I reminded our players what happened the last time and how we lost that game. I mean, our defense played horrible. And that's all there is to it. Texas coach Tom Herman said, we don't have a good defense, but our offense has really stepped up to the plate. We've beaten Oklahoma before, so they know what we're capable of doing. We're not going to take them lightly. But I'm going to say this, though. Get ready for another rematch. This is the Red River Shootout number 2. Yeah, and I'll tell you right now, to give you an idea, Oklahoma's a 5-point favorite, but the over-under for this game is 78.5. They're talking a shootout. Let's think back to what happened last time. 93 points back on October 6th between the two teams. That's an all-time record for the Red River Shootout. That was crazy. And also, too, think about Oklahoma's defense is still awful. Oklahoma's defense is still pathetic. And here's another case in point. Oklahoma's defense has given up an average of 47 points in the last 4 games. That includes their 59-56 victory over West Virginia last Friday night. So I'm going to tell you right now, defense, forget it. I'm like, defense, you ain't going to see. You want a defensive battle, turn on something else. And that's all I can say about that. But anyway, let's think about this. The offenses are so fantastic. I mean, Oklahoma, Kyler Murray, he's a consideration for the Heisman. Kennedy Brooks, having a great season as running back. And Kyler Murray's buddy, Hollywood Marquise Brown, watch out for him in this rematch. Because it's going to get good, ladies and gentlemen. Do not think this is going to be a defensive battle. You're watching the wrong game. And also for Texas, Sam Ehlinger, he's been having some shoulder issues. Will that be a factor in the game on Saturday afternoon? And you got Kenny Ingram. He's a great running back. And, of course, you got Ehlinger's go-to guy, Mr. Lil Jordan Humphrey. And, yes, it is Lil Jordan. I'm not faking it. You also got Lil Jordan Humphrey. Look out for him. He can do some damage. As far as the final score for the Big 12 Championship game, I don't even want to take a crack at it. But someone's going to ask me. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say Texas pulls off the upset. But I don't think it's going to be 48-45. I'm thinking more on the lines of maybe 48-41. Now, I know it's crazy. It's going to be a close game. But it's not going to be 48-45. You know what? Change my mind. I'm going to go with Texas. I'm going to stay with Texas. But I'm going to say 41-38. Texas wins it with the field goal at the last second. I think Texas can pull off the upset. Texas beat Oklahoma back on October 6th. They can do it again. But don't take Oklahoma lightly. Grant you, Oklahoma's a 5-point favorite, but it doesn't matter how much of a favorite you are in the Big 12. It's still going to be a crazy Saturday. And that's all there is to it, ladies and gentlemen. That's all there is to it. I mean, neither Texas or Oklahoma have a defense to brag about, and that's a fact. The Big 12, a lot of people have said the Big 12 is a joke. Sometimes the Big 12 is the home of the home run touchdown pass, and they're right. And it's gotten to the point sometimes where I have to double check, make sure it's football, not basketball. A lot of people are thinking that, including me. But the Big 12 Championship is up for grabs. If Texas knocks off Oklahoma, that's going to really throw a monkey wrench into the college football playoff race. And the same goes for Ohio State in the Big 10 title game. Keep that in mind. All right, now, let's move on. I'm not going to take too long on this. It's the SEC Championship game. Alabama is an overwhelming favorite. They're only in favor like about maybe like 15 points. But still, I want to talk about it. It's still got to be talked about. It's still got to be addressed. Last year in the College Football National Championship game, Alabama won it on a walk-off touchdown in overtime. Georgia coach Kirby Smart has not forgotten it. And because he's like, I want my rematch. I finally got the rematch that I wanted. It says my cell phone, I'll let it go. Now Georgia, on the other hand, they got the rematch that they wanted in the SEC title game. But however, a lot has changed. Alabama coach Tua Tagovailoa, he's a very tough guy to play ball against. And the bottom line is, we're going to have a battle for there. Tua Tagovailoa is one of the toughest quarterbacks in the SEC. He's one of the favorites for the Heisman Trophy. But yet you got running back Damian Harris. He can do some damage. Jerry Jeudy, he can do a lot of damage himself as wide receiver. And I've seen what he's capable of doing. Now for Georgia. This is where it gets interesting. You also know about what can happen in a big game like this. Vic, I'll check with you later. I'm sorry. I just had a message there. But anyway. Georgia's got an extra threat in this title game. Jake Fromm, he's one of the best quarterbacks away from the state of Alabama. DeAndre Swift, he can be very dangerous himself, but they got two big weapons. McCall Hardman, and they also have Elijah, the real deal, Holyfield. Sorry, Evander. Sorry, Evander. I just had to do that. But anyway, watch out. If you see Elijah, the real deal, he'll be there. He'll prove to why he's the real deal. McCall Hardman. Watch out for him. And DeAndre Swift and Jake Fromm. Could we have an upset in the SEC title game? Only time will tell that. But the bottom line is, this is going to be a game that's going to be coming down to who wants it the most. Georgia coach Kirby Smart has already said, I got my rematch. I want the rematch, and I got it. But I'll tell you right now, Alabama's a tough football team. Excuse the redneck. Excuse me for talking like a hillbilly, but the man talks like a hillbilly himself. But also, too, I'm from Southeast Ohio, so I have the right to, I also do talk like that. But anyway, Alabama coach Nick Saban's downplayed it like, we're going to take this game seriously. It's just like another game. That's all you can do. I know it's a conference title. Anything can happen. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to have my team ready. I got Tagovailoa ready to go, and anything can happen. And I'm going to tell you right now, watch out for him in this game. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to come down to who can run the ball. If Swift and Real Deal Holyfield can do some damage, it's going to mean a lot for Damian Harris. Jerry Jeudy's going to be a factor. All these guys that I've mentioned are going to be a real big factor on who wins this game. And remember, both teams are in the top 4. Something's got to give, and anything can happen, and it usually does. And it ain't over until I start singing. So keep that in mind. But I'm going to say this. Could we have an upset in the SEC Championship game? Could Georgia be holding back something? We'll have to wait and see tomorrow afternoon about 3:30 here at about either 3:30 or 4 o'clock on CBS. It's going to be a very interesting game. May the best team win, and we'll see who the best team is when the game is over. All right, it's time to move on. I was going to talk about the ACC Championship game between Clemson and Pitt, but Clemson is has already opened as a 27.5 point favorite. So you know what? I'm not going to waste my time with that one because Clemson's an overwhelming favorite. So instead, I'm going to go outside the box a little bit and talk about the Mountain West Conference. Out of number 25 Fresno State versus number 22 Boise State. And as it stands right now, Boise State is a 2-point favorite. Look out for that. And the over-under for this game is 53. Last year, let's go back 1 year ago to the Mountain West Championship game. These two teams met. Boise State won 17-14 on a walk-off field goal. And you better believe Fresno State has not forgotten about that at all. But I'm going to tell you right now, watch out for these guys here. These players here for Boise State. Brett Rippon, one of the best quarterbacks out of Boise State in years. Alexander Madison, he can really run the ball. He's a ball runner out there. And out on the West Coast, they can run the ball all day. And the best wide receiver, Sean Modster. I don't know if it's Modster or Modster, M-O-D-S-T-E-R. If I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, please somebody know. Somebody please let me know. But anyway, those are the three guys who got one on the watch list for Boise State. Now for Fresno State, Marcus Mariano. Yeah, excuse me. My writing's a little hard to read. But anyway, Marcus Mariano, he's one of the best quarterbacks that Fresno State has seen in years. That's why they're clinging to the top 25. Ronnie Rivers, he can do some damage. And Keyshawn Johnson, not the Keyshawn Johnson, give him the damn ball. Not that Keyshawn Johnson. This is another Keyshawn Johnson. His Keyshawn is spelled Keesean. Don't think of the Keyshawn Johnson that played in the NFL. And everybody when he came up with the book, give him the damn ball. Excuse my language, but it's the title of the book. I haven't seen it yet, but I'd like to get my hands on a copy. But that's for another time. But let's think about this for a minute. Who has the edge? Boise State is a 2-point favorite, and here's why. Boise State has scored 37 points per game. That's their average. Fresno State's points per game is 36.3. But the defense is where it's going to be won. Fresno State has only allowed 13.5 points per game, while Boise State's allowed 22.3. That's huge. Whichever defense steps up in this game is going to be the winner. Will we have another 17-14 repeat like we did 1 year ago? We'll have to wait and see on that. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be getting crazy out in the Mountain West. This is going to be a game out on the West Coast. And this is a West game up in the mountains somewhere. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be a game, whoever takes it is going to earn it. They're really going to earn this game. And the bottom line is, whichever team shows up wins. Whichever defense can stop. If Boise State can stop Marion, Rivers, and Johnson, they got it. But Fresno State has to worry about Rippon, Madison, and Monster. But I'm going to say right now, the bottom line is, whoever wins this game is really, really going to earn it. And ladies and gentlemen, if you stop and think about this, the Mountain West is where all the craziness is. Outside of the Big 12, this is the next crazy conference. Now, this is a group of 5. It's not a Power 5 conference. It doesn't matter if you're a Power 5 or a group of 5 conference. Anything can happen on any given Saturday. So, this is a 7:45 game on ESPN tomorrow night. Anything can happen. But I'm going to say this. Watch the defense. Whichever defense shows up wins. And that's all there is to it. Okay. Now, let's talk about the Pac-12. The Pac-12 Championship game. Number 11, Washington. Number 17, Utah. It is some miracle that the Utah Utes are playing for the Pac-12 crown and a possibility of going to the winner of this game will be in the Rose Bowl. And if the Utes get to the Rose Bowl, that is going to be a complete season for them. Utah coach Kyle Whittingham has said, if we can beat the Huskies tonight, if we get to the Rose Bowl, that is going to be a dream season for us. Because let's think about it. The Pac-12, when the season started, everybody was thinking Oregon, Stanford, Washington, USC. Washington's the only one that survived. Stanford, they struggled. USC, they finished below 500. And Oregon, they struggled. USC below 500. Stanford, they had some struggles this season. Washington survived because of Jake Browning, Myles Gaskin, and Aaron Fuller. Well, let me tell you something. The Washington defense pass rush, you better be thinking about them because they got Taylor Rapp, JoJo McIntosh, Byron Murphy, and Miles Bryant. That pass rush defense is going to be key tonight going into this game. And this game is tonight. And let's think about it too. Washington's only allowed 16.5 points against per game. That is huge going into tonight. Now I'm going to say this though. And also, too, if you think about it, the Utah backfield has had to be replaced all season. They're starting redshirt freshman Jason Shelley as quarterback. He's filling in for the injured Tyler Huntley. Running back Armand Shine is replacing the injured Zach Moss. The only healthy starter is Britton Covey. And let's think about it. The pass rush defense for Utah, if they can stop them, if the Huskies can stop the Utes running game or the passing game, They got this game won. But Utah has a great defensive player himself, and Chase Hansen, one of the best linebackers that the University of Utah has seen in years. But I'm going to tell you something. This game is going to be interesting because if the Washington defense can step up and stop the pass, that would be huge in the victory. And this will be huge for Washington's victory here tonight. But I'm going to tell you something. Don't take the Utes lightly. Now, I know they won the Pac-12 South. They earned it. But also, too, the Utes have an average of 30.8 points per game, and their points against per game is only 19.3. They've got a great defense, too. Don't take the Utes lightly. And this goes for everybody out of the University of Washington and Husky Nation. This is going to be a game that who wants it the most. And keep in mind, the winner of this game will be in the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day and a possible matchup with either Ohio State or Northwestern. And I've looked at every formula possible. The best scenario for the Rose Bowl would be Washington versus Ohio State. I shouldn't sound like that. I'm trying to be as fair and impartial as possible, but I've looked at everything. I looked at the numbers, and I crunched the numbers, ladies and gentlemen. I take this stuff very seriously. Washington and Ohio State in the Rose Bowl would be the best thing for the biggest bowl game. If Utah upsets Washington, that's going to be a huge news flash. And the Utes winning the Pac-12 and coming out of nowhere, what a story that would make. And I'm going to tell you right now, don't take the Utes lightly. And all Utes Nation and everybody out there in Salt Lake City, you better be thinking about this. You guys took BYU in the Holy War. How much was taken out of that? Did the Holy War take a lot out of you? You know Washington's battle with Washington State did. How will the Utes fare against a team like the Huskies? The best pass defense, the best defensive pass rush in the country. Taylor Rapp, JoJo McIntosh, Byron Murphy, and Miles Bryant. Those four guys on that defensive pass rush is going to be key on who wins this game tonight. If the Utes passing game gets going, it's going to be very interesting. However, they're starting to redshirt freshmen, and that worries me. And their running back, Amon Shane, is filling in for the injured Zach Moss. Britton Covey's the only one that's healthy. So as far as the final score for this game, I'm going to give you my prediction. Actually, you know what? I'm going to come back later in the show and do that. I'll give you my predictions for all the football games this weekend. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be very interesting to see how this season goes and how this game goes tonight. Okay, let's get to the game that everybody's been thinking about. The American Athletic Conference Championship. Number 8 UCF versus unranked Memphis. For UCF, Darryl Mack Jr. is replacing the injured Mackenzie Milton. As you guys saw last Saturday against South Florida, Milton suffered a very, very serious knee injury. And my thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family at this time. But for Mack Jr., he was only 5 of 14 for 81 yards and 51 yards rushing in a little over a half last week. So there's a big question there. He's a big question mark. Will he show up at the right time? And for UCF, Greg McCray, look out for him. One of the best running backs that they've had. Gabriel Davis, he could be Darryl Mack Jr.'s go-to guy at wide receiver. For Memphis, Brady White, one of the best quarterbacks that Memphis has seen in years. Darrell Henderson, look out for him. One of the best running backs. And Deontay Cox, look out for him in the run game. He could be huge too. So as far as who has an advantage, UCF is only a 3-point favorite, and here's why. UCF has averaged 43.1 points per game, while Memphis has averaged 43.8. And you remember back earlier in the year, back in about October, UCF had to come from behind to beat Memphis 31-30. That's something to think about too. Memphis had UCF on the ropes back in either October or November. That's something to think about too. And I'm going to say this. With no Mackenzie Milton, does UCF win streak stay intact? Only time will tell that. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you think they're going to get to the college football playoff, I've got a possible formula for that, and I'll get to that in a second. Who will show up? Will it be Darryl Mack Jr. or will it be Brady White? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered there. But I'm going to say this, though, in all fairness. Memphis took UCF to the limit, but they still lost 31-30, but they took UCF to the limit. Could we see that again tomorrow? That will be huge. And that's another big question that needs to be answered. But the bottom line is, a lot of things can happen. Darryl Mack Jr. could turn into the next Mackenzie Milton. Everybody's hoping so. Could UCF jump up and get into the college football playoff? I've got a little possible formula for that. But you know what? All in all, the regular season in college football was crazy. Now, we got the college football playoff. And I've looked at all the scenarios for a UCF to get there. This is what my scenario is. And pay attention to this. It's a 150-1 long shot scenario, but the possibility is there. Here's what needs to happen for UCF to get into the top 4. You know, let's just say hypothetically, Alabama beats Georgia. If Georgia loses big, they're going to drop. However, there's a couple other things that need to happen. Texas needs to upset Oklahoma in the Big 12 Championship game. That's a biggie. That's another big one. And one more thing needs to happen. Northwestern has got to upset Ohio State in the Big 10 Championship game tomorrow night. And on top of that, UCF has to win. They have to beat Memphis in their conference championship game. If all of that happens, it all starts with UCF winning their game against Memphis. And if Alabama blows Georgia's doors off big, Georgia will be out. If Texas beats Oklahoma in the Big 12 Championship game, they're out. If Northwestern upsets Ohio State in the Big 10 Championship game, forget about them. And Michigan's season is over until their bowl game. So you know they're going to jump Michigan. However, if all of this happens, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Ohio State lose, if all three of those teams lose, UCF can jump in and take it away. I know it's a formula. I've thought about this. I put a lot into this. I know it's 150-1 long shot. I grant you. However, the possibility is there. And if Clemson, by some dumb coincidence, loses to Pitt in the ACC Championship game, that'll be real big too. But I'm going to tell you this. I know it's just a formula. I know I've crunched the numbers. I've looked at everything. I've looked at all the possible scenarios. But if UCF, first they got to win their conference championship game. Then they need Georgia, Oklahoma, and Ohio State to lose. If Clemson, Clemson losing too by some coincidence to Pitt, that would be a major help. That would help them too. But I'm focusing more on Georgia, Oklahoma, and Ohio State, because that's where the main focus is going to be. 4, 5, and 6. Michigan, they're done until their bowl game. But UCF can leapfrog those 4, they're in. And that's all there is to it. And that's the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. That's the bottom line. A lot can happen. It all starts tomorrow at 12 noon with the Big 12 title game. And then we'll have the Big 10 Championship game Saturday night at 8 o'clock on Fox. We'll have the SEC Championship game tomorrow at 4 o'clock on CBS. I don't know the time for the AAC Championship game, for the American Athletic Conference Championship game. I don't know the time for that, but that's going to be very interesting to see how that goes. And that's all I got to say for that, ladies and gentlemen. For the time being, I'm done with college football. I will come back to give you my picks later in the show. I'll give you my picks later in the show for some of the big football games for Conference Championship weekend. And now, I'm not done. That's just first half. I just finished the first half of my show. Now, let's move on. It's time to talk some college basketball for the first time this year. This is my first time talking college basketball. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start it out with the Duke freshman sensations. The Duke Blue Devils have a starting five that contains 4 freshmen. Now, Duke took care of Indiana 90-69 as part of the ACC Big Ten Challenge. 75 of those 90 points over Indiana were scored by freshmen. Zion Williamson, the new big man on campus, 25 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. R.J. Barrett, 22 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist. Cam Reddish, not Cam Reddish as in R-D-D-I-S-H, not Cam Reddick, as in, anyway. Cam Reddish, 13 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Trey Jones, 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 assist in the game last night. But think about these freshman sensations. This is a great foursome for Duke. Zion Williamson, he's been averaging 21.3 points per game. He averages 9 rebounds per game. He leads the team in that category and 2.4 assists per game. R.J. Barrett, he leads the scoring department with 22.7 points per game. He was impressive. And he also has 6 1-point rebounds per game and 3.6 assists per game. That's huge too. Cam Reddish, 15.3 points per game. He averages 3.3 rebounds per game and 1.6 assists per game. That's huge too. Trey Jones, he may only average 10.3 points per game, but he has 3.6 rebounds per game, and he leads the team with the most assists at 5.9. Very impressive. Coach Mike Krzyzewski has come up with an incredible starting 4 freshmen. Could they compete for a national in the NCAA tournament and win the national championship this year? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, ACC play hasn't started yet for these guys. I want to see what they can do against a team like North Carolina. And keep in mind, Michigan blew North Carolina's doors off on Wednesday night. It wasn't even pretty. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I want to see what these freshman sensations do within the conference. I want to see how they can do against a team like North Carolina. And I'm going to tell you right now, Mike Krzyzewski is a genius coming up with these 4 freshman sensations. Zion Williamson, he's the new big man on campus, along with R.J. Barrett. And I'm going to tell you right now, don't take these freshmen lightly. They can play. But I'm going to tell you this. It's going to be very interesting to see how the ACC goes. Will it be Duke against North Carolina, or will somebody from the ACC come out of the pack and take it away? Only time will tell that. But it's going to come down to who wants it the most in the ACC. I know conference play hasn't started yet, but there's a lot to think about going forward in the future. All right. I only have a few games I want to talk about. There's 3 on my watch list for the weekend. Let's start it out with number 22 Wisconsin, number 14 Iowa. That game is tonight at 8 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. Just in case the football games tonight get boring and you have the Big Ten Network, watch Wisconsin face Iowa. That's going to be a biggie. And let's think about this. Wisconsin is coming off of a 79-75 victory over NC State on Tuesday night as part of the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Wisconsin coach Kevin Keese has said, we open Big Ten play against Iowa, and the Iowa Hawkeyes are a very tough basketball team. They can be very dangerous too, and I'm going to tell you right now, don't take these guys. I'm not taking Iowa lightly. That's all I can say. Now, Iowa is coming off of a big battle against Pitt on either Tuesday or Wednesday night. Iowa escaped over Pitt 69-68. Iowa coach Fran McCaffrey has already said, don't take Wisconsin lightly. Ethan Happ is a very dangerous individual. He's very big, he's very fast. And we got to find a way, if we can stop him and we can get to him, it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. And I'm going to say this right now. This is going to be a very interesting game. And I'm going to tell you this. Whoever wins this game could be in the driver's seat to win the Big Ten. Now let's think about this for Ethan Happ. He averages 18 points per game. He's averaged 54.8% on the field goal shooting. And he's averaged 31.4 minutes per game. That is very impressive for a guy his size. He's a dangerous individual, and he's a dude who can do some damage. But I also got another guy on my watch list for Wisconsin, Dimitri Trice. He's a very dangerous individual too. He's averaging 17 points per game. Very impressive for him, and he plays 31 minutes, the same amount as Ethan Happ. But he's only a 48.2% field goal shooter. That would be the thing that worries me a little bit as far as Wisconsin goes. But don't take the Badgers lightly. But I'm going to say this, though. Wisconsin only averages 74.7 points per game. Iowa averages 85.3 points per game. Something has to give. If Wisconsin can get Iowa to play their kind of game, they've got a shot. But the points against per game Iowa's allowed 72 points against per game. That's something to think about. And Wisconsin's only averaged 66.3 points against per game. If Iowa can stop Ethan Happ and get him into foul trouble early, they've got a shot. But as far as Iowa goes, I got 3 players on my watch list. Number 1, Tyler Cook. Look out for him. He averages 25.8 minutes per game, and he only averages 14.8 points per game. But he's a 55% field goal shooter. That's big, too, in a game like this. Luke Garza. He averages 14.3 points per game. That's what he's been averaging early in the season. And he has 22.8 minutes per game. And keep this in mind, too. And Wisconsin fans, you need to pay attention to this, too. He's a 62.8% field goal shooter. But I also got Cameron McCaffrey. He only averages like maybe 7 points per game, but he averages 3.8 assists per game. He leads the team in that department and 9 rebounds per game. But if this turns into a free throw contest, Iowa will want McCaffrey at the line. Wisconsin will want to keep McCaffrey away because he's an 85.3% free throw shooter. That's going to be something to think about too. And Iowa has got not only is Iowa going to be having Wisconsin on their minds when they face them, but they're also going to be thinking about Michigan. And I'll get to Michigan in just a second. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be a game of who shows up. Will it be Iowa or will it be Wisconsin? And this is a biggie too. 2 top 25 teams going at it. And what a way to open Big Ten play. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be very interesting to see on how this game goes. Who wants it the most? And will Connor McCaffrey be a factor? I called him Cameron a minute ago. I messed up. It's Connor. I apologize for that, Iowa Nation. Hawkeye Nation, please forgive me for that. But I'm going to tell you right now, anyway, this game is a biggie. And if you think this game's going to be big, Iowa's undefeated right now. Wisconsin already has a bad loss. Which brings me to number 19 Purdue, number 7 Michigan. I'm going to talk about Michigan first. And this is a Saturday game at 3:30 on ESPN, by the way. This game is big for so many, many reasons. Keep this in mind for Michigan. They're coming off of a huge 84-67 victory over North Carolina on Wednesday night. Michigan coach John Beilein has said, "I'm so proud of our team. We beat one of the best teams out of the ACC. I was very proud of our school. I'm proud of our squad. And these guys did their jobs. They did exactly what they were going to do, and they took care of business. And that's all there is to it." But let's think about this for a minute. There are 3 big guys on my watch list for Michigan on Saturday for this big battle. Ignatius Brenizekis. I'm not sure that's how you pronounce his name. I'm going to go along with it for now. Wolverine Nation or any Michigan fans, if you have a chance, send me a video to correct me. If you can do that, that'd be great. But anyway, this guy averages 27 minutes per game. And Brenizekis has been averaging 16.9 points per game. That's huge too. And he's also a 55% free field goal shooter. That would be huge in a game like this against Purdue. Jordan Poole. He may only average 10.1 points per game, but he also averages 28.9 minutes per game. That's huge too. And he's only a 42% field goal shooter. But he can do a lot of damage too. And that's all there is to it. But I'm going to be honest with you. This is a game of who wants it the most. And Charles Matthews, he's been impressive himself. He averages 15.4 points per game, and he averages 30.7 minutes per game. He may only be a 45.2% field goal shooter, but he can be a guy that could show up in the end. But let's think about this for Michigan. They may only average 72.7 points per game, but they could shut down their opponents. They've only been averaging 51 points per game in that department. Now, for Purdue, and this is a biggie, they're coming off of a loss against Florida State, 73-72. Purdue coach Matt Painter said, we lost our game in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, but we can revive ourselves with a big victory over Michigan on Saturday. I hope we can do it. I feel good about our chances. Maybe we can knock off the big dogs in the Big Ten in basketball. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm concerned about our team. We'll see what happens in this game. And now, for Purdue, think about this. Carson Edwards, he's back. But think about this. He's been averaging 25.1 points per game in this very young season. And he's been averaging almost 32 minutes per game. That poor guy's exhausted when the game's over. He may only be a 44.4% field goal shooter, but that's going to be huge if they need him down the stretch. Ryan Klein, he has more time than Carson Edwards. He averages 33.1 minutes per game. He may only average 15.3 points per game, and he may only be a 45.8% field goal shooter. But this game may be decided at the free throw line. And this game may be decided on, it's more one of those games, the first team to 70 will probably win this game. Evan Burdeur, he may only average 15.9 minutes per game and 11.3 minutes per game, but he's a 55.6% field goal shooter. That could be huge down the stretch. That could be very important as well. And also for Purdue, they've been averaging 83.4 points per game, but they've also allowed 66.9 points per game. Now, what game will show up tomorrow? Which team for Purdue will show up? Will it be the team like Carson Edwards, like we saw last year with Matt Painter, or which team will show up for Michigan, the one that won the Big Ten Championship last year? Because this is also a Big Ten opener for both of these teams. And let me tell you something. These guys here have shown me a lot. Both these teams showed me a lot last year. And John Beilein and Matt Painter have already said, this is a big game. I know it's our conference opener for the both of us, but this one's got huge implications. And both teams are right. Michigan has got to worry about Iowa. If Michigan loses or Iowa loses, there's going to be no teams left undefeated in the Big Ten. If Iowa loses or Michigan, if either Iowa or Michigan lose, one of these teams will be sitting all alone at the top of the Big Ten. And I know it's just a start of conference play. But ladies and gentlemen, before you know it, March Madness will be here. I know it's November 30th. But I'm going to say this, though. It's going to be very interesting to see how the season goes. And the bottom line is, whoever wins the Big Ten is really going to earn it. All right. One last game in college basketball I want to talk about is number 1 Gonzaga versus Creighton. Gonzaga is coming off of a huge 102-60 win over North Dakota State. Gonzaga coach Mark Hughes said, I'm ready for the challenge. I know we're facing a team out of the Big East, and anything can happen. It usually does. I don't know, we got to go to Creighton's house to play this game. And Creighton, too, is coming off of a 97-2 victory over Montana. That's huge, too. Now, for Gonzaga, we got 3 big names to think about. Rui Hachimura, 29 minutes per game, 21.9 points per game, and he's also a 60% field goal shooter. That is huge. Brandon Clark, he may only average 21 minutes per game and 15.9 points per game, but he's a 77.8% field goal shooter as well. That's something to think about too. Zach Norville Jr., he's played almost 30 minutes per game, and he averages 17.3 points per game and he's also only a 44% field goal shooter. Will that be key too? And also too, Gonzaga has been destroying their opponents like they did against North Dakota State. They've been averaging 97.7 points per game, almost 100 points per game. Fairly close. And their points against has been 73.7. That could be huge too. But Creighton coach Greg McDermott said, we're up to the task. We're going to give them a battle all the way to the end. But I'm going to tell you right now, we got a great team and we got some guys that can get the job done. Tyshawn Alexander is one of them. And Tyshawn Alexander, he averages 32.7 minutes per game. That is huge. And he's averaged 18.3 points per game. Another big stat to think about. Damian Jefferson, look out for him. He may only average 24.9 minutes per game and 11.9 points per game, but he's also a 66.7% field goal shooter. That could be huge too. Mitch Blaylock, he almost averages 30 minutes per game. He may only average 11 points per game, but he's also a 47.2% field goal shooter. There's 2 big contrasting styles in this game. Which one will show up? Only time will tell that. But the bottom line is, we're going to have a battle. We got 3 big games this weekend. 1 tonight, 2 tomorrow. And anything can happen, and it usually does in college basketball. And keep in mind, 2 of those games that I mentioned, Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Michigan, Purdue, those are Big Ten openers. For all 4 of those schools that I mentioned, it's their Big Ten opener. And that's going to be a lot to think about going down the stretch. I didn't talk about Ohio State. I should have, and I apologize. But anyway, we got a lot of action this weekend, and I'm going to say this now. Whoever wants it the most is going to be the guy that takes it the most. And the bottom line is, it's going to be a very interesting weekend in the world of college sports. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before I go, it is now time for my closing thoughts. Actually, my closing thoughts are going to be my pick for conference championship weekend in college football, and I'm also going to give some predictions on who takes the 3 games that I mentioned in college basketball. First of all, the Big Ten Championship. Ohio State is a 14.5-point favorite. I'm going to go with Ohio State 38-20. That is my prediction. Now, I know this is a hard one. The Big 12 Championship game, that's a hard one for me, but I got to make a prediction. The over-under 78.5. I am going to go out on a limb and say Texas, and I've changed my mind on the final score. I am going to go 51-48. Yes, I said it. I know it's a basketball score, but I got to go with my prediction. I think Texas upsets Oklahoma for the second time this season, 51-48 in the Big 12 Championship game. And now, for the SEC Championship game, my prediction is Alabama 48-20. I don't think Georgia gets going at all. I really don't. I'd love to. A lot of people want to see Georgia knock off Alabama, but I don't think it's going to happen because Tua Tagovailoa is too strong. Damian Harris, Jerry Jeudy. Yes, I know Georgia has a double threat with DeAndre Swift and Elijah the Real Deal Holyfield, but I got to go with my gut on this. Alabama wins the SEC Championship game going away. The Mountain West Conference Championship. This is a hard one for me. I am going to go with Boise State 41-38. I'm going to go with Boise State 41-38 because, like I said, Boise State, Brett Rippon, Madison, and Monster, they're very tough. Not to take anything away from Marcus Merriam, Ronnie Rivers, and Keyshawn Johnson, but I think Boise State's just a better team. They proved it last year with a 17-14 victory, but I think it's going to be a higher scoring game than that. 41-38, my prediction, Boise State over Fresno State. And now for the Pac-12 Championship game, Washington, Utah. This is going to be a close one. I've got to go with Washington 21-14. I'm going to go with the Huskies 21-14 over Utah because I think the Washington defense pass rush is going to be just too strong, in my professional opinion. So I'm going to go with. That's why I'm going with 21. That's why I'm going with 21-14. And now the American Athletic Conference Championship. This is a hard one for me. Grant you, UCF is a 3-point favorite. I'm going to go with UCF, but I think it's going to be a close one. It's going to be low scoring because they got Darryl Mack Jr. starting instead of Mackenzie Milton. I'm going to go with UCF 17-14. I think it's going to be low scoring. Just something to think about. Okay, real quick. My college basketball prediction. This is a hard one for me too, Wisconsin, Iowa. Both teams are very good. I'm going to say Iowa 87-75. I think the Hawkeye basketball team is going to be too strong for Ethan Happ in Wisconsin. Now, for Michigan and Purdue, this is a hard one, but I'm going to go with Purdue on this one. I think Purdue's going to shock Michigan because, like I said, they got Carson Edwards, Ryan Klein, and Evan Burdeur. That's a biggie too. And as far as Gonzaga and Creighton, I'm going to go with number 1 Gonzaga, despite the fact the game is going to be played in Creighton. That's something to think about too. I think Gonzaga is just too strong. I really do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, those are my picks for this Saturday, for tonight and Saturday. But before I go, This is the only edition of the college football / basketball show. Starting next Friday night, it's going to be strictly college basketball. I'll throw in some football reports as we get closer to the college football playoff. And I will also have the wrap. I will also have a special Sunday afternoon show of what I think of the college football top 4 and some of the bowl predictions. But I'm going to tell you right now, I want to thank you guys for being with me here this morning. And I'm also going to say this too. What happens tonight and tomorrow night, we'll see what happens on Sunday. And the big thing is, if Ohio State can get into the top 4, it'd be a miracle after the crazy season they've had. Now, college basketball is in full swing. Starting next Friday night, I haven't decided on the time yet if it's going to be 10 o'clock or if it's going to be earlier. It's going to be the Scott Manning College Basketball Podcast pregame show. I'm changing it from football to basketball because we need to start focusing on the hardwood, and I need to be focusing on the Duke Blue Devils. I'm a Duke fan, and I'm an Ohio State fan. And I'm a Duke fan because I hate everything about North Carolina. And some people have asked me, what got you into the Duke-North Carolina rivalry? And I've said it was very simple. It was either watch Duke face North Carolina or watch a TV Western with my dad on Saturday. And TV Westerns to me are boring. But I'm going to say this, though. It has been a great ride in college football. Now we need to start a transition from college football to college basketball. If you think this show is going away, you're sadly mistaken. And I know I like to irritate my sister about it. I irritate her about it once in a while. She's like, Scott, can't you focus on something easy like the Puppy Bowl? I say, I shouldn't sound like that. I'm sorry. Sis, I'm sorry, but that's just the way I am. Mom raised me right when it comes to stuff like this. She did. But, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a great show tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. You guys are a great group, and you're a great group to be around here this morning. I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. I want to thank you guys so much for being with me. And you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy your college football, the college basketball action this weekend. My next show will probably be at about 11:30 or midnight as we wrap up this crazy weekend in sports and get you ready for Sunday. Thank you guys so much for being with me here this morning. You guys have a great day, and God bless. Goodbye, everybody, and thank you.